Vitamins, amongst other values, are there to strengthen your immune system so that you're stronger to handle germs or disease. Chas v'shalom. E stands for Emunah. We're going to get an extra dose of vitamin E for Emunah, and we're going to do it by traveling the fastest journey you have ever taken in your lives. You're about to travel 6,000 years in about 76 feet. Are you ready? We're going to begin at the beginning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the universe. Here's our prop for Brias HaOlam. It's just a model of the local solar system. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the universe in how many days? 6 days. The 6th day is where we begin measuring time. Rosh Hoshanah is not the anniversary of the first day of the Bria. It's the anniversary of the 6th day. Why do we begin measuring time from the 6th day, not the first day? What was created that makes it special on the 6th day? Adam and Chava were created on the 6th day because the entire universe was created for Adam, Chava. 10 generations from Adam till Noach. Can you see there's a slight gap here? Adam died how old? 930. We get to our next prop. This is a cube. It's made of golden beads. It's not real gold, they're plastic. There are 10 across here, 10 down here. How many beads do I have on this surface? 100. Excellent. And they are 10 surfaces deep. So how many beads do I actually have inside this cube? 1,000. Excellent. You sure? Take a vote. Okay, you all agree. There are 1,000 beads inside this cube. This cube represents 1,000 years. Adam dies, 930. 10 generations from Adam till Noach, the Mabul. If I were outside, I would pour water on top of our globe over here. 10 generations from Noach till Avram. Migdal Bavel, the life of Avram Avinu. It's not real Avodah Zarah, it's just Lego. The life of Yitzchak, the Akedah. This is just our little model of a Mizbeach on Har HaMoriah. And we are up to 2,000 years. That's right. The life of Yaakov. Can you see, this is an icon. You see the ladder of the dream of Yaakov Avinu. The life of Yosef, the dreams of Yosef. Shibud Mitzrayim, slavery in Egypt. Here's our little model of a pyramid. Bless you, bless you. Ten Makos, 10. Two drops of food coloring. I was practicing for a month. Yetziat Mitzrayim, Matan Torah. The greatest event in not just Jewish history, in the ganze world, in world history, there's no event as great as Matan Torah. We're going to see why. Even in world history, this is the greatest event ever. 40 years in the Midbar, Yeshua enters Eretz Yisrael and begins the Tekufa of the Zkanim, the Shoftim, and the Melachim, starting with Shaul HaMelech, then David HaMelech and his son Shlomo HaMelech, who built the Bayis Rishon. And we are up to 3,000 years. Excellent. Chorban Bayis Rishon. Galus Bavel, immediately followed by Galus Pras. Can you see, young ladies? See? followed immediately by the story of Lai la 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 lai, lai la la lai, lai 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 lai. Lai la la lai. Coming soon in a shul near you, Megillas Esther. 2,400 years ago, still going strong. The building of Bayis Sheni. Galus Yavan, immediately followed by the story of Lai la 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 la. Chanukah. Chorban Bayis Sheni, Galus Edom. This is a model of the arch of Titus. Excellent. Titus was the Roman general who destroyed the Bayis Sheni. They built this. It's still there, Ad Hayom, in Rome, Italy. Galus Edom, the writing of the Mishnah. And we are up to? Excellent. 4,000 years, the writing of the Mishnah. 4,000 years, the writing of the Gemara. Compliments to Shas. The Tkufa of the Gaonim, followed by Rashi and Jews in Europe, followed immediately by the Crusades. All the boys' yeshivas ask me if it's real, and I tell them the truth. It's real. Plastic. Rambam, Maimonides Rambam, and the Golden Age of Spain, and we are up to the year 5,000. Rambam. The Spanish Inquisition, Jews are expelled from Spain. Rabbeinu Yosef Karo writes the Shulchan Aruch. I brought you my pocket version. Never leave home without it. The Baal Shem HaKadosh begins the Hasidic movement. I don't know why everyone always finds it funny. The Vilna Gaon begins the Yeshiva movement. The late 1800s, 1877 to be precise, over 300 Talmidim of the Baal Shem HaKadosh moved to Eretz Yisrael, and they settle in the four most Kaddish places: Yerushalayim, Hebron, Sfas, and Tveria, followed 30 years later by over 500 Talmidim of the Vilna Gaon, also settle in Eretz Yisrael in the four most Kaddish places, and that begins the real original Yishuv, coming back after 2,000 years of Galus. Sarah Shnira begins the Beis Yaakov movement, the Holocaust.
And then 1948, if that's part of, if you're able to put that into your presentation, it depends on the hashkafa of the audience. The United Nations voted that the Jewish people should have their own homeland. Oh, and now, in 1949, nearly 750,000 Jews live in Eretz Yisrael. Oh, today, in the year 5776, how many Jews in the whole world? Maybe 14, 15 million. How many Jews live in Eretz Yisrael? Over 6 million. Wow. We're at the tipping point where nearly half the Jews of the whole world live in Eretz Yisrael.
Jews in America. This is a photo of Madison Square Garden, where over 26,000 from Yidden were at 2 cycles of the Shas, Siyum Shas. The more recent one, I have a large photo of that as well, of the one in the MetLife Stadium, over 90,000 from Yidden. Quick show of hands, how many of you were at the MetLife Stadium 2 summers ago? Oh, there's a few of you, and some of the Murras as well. Excellent. And you, yes, you are here. You're in the year 5,776. The only 3 things that haven't happened yet: Kibbutz Galius, all the Yidden moving to Eretz Yisrael, the building of Bayis Shlishi, with the coming of Mashiach, and finally, Tchias HaMesim, which the Gemara tells us in Sanhedrin, Tzadik Zayin going on to Tzadik Ches, has to be by the year 6,000. You are in the year 5,776. What we've just accomplished in these few minutes is three things. Number one, where's the beginning of time? Number two, where's the end of time? And where are you? What we're going to do now, assuming that I'm hooked up, we're going to look at the screen. I'm going to show you places on planet Earth that are there from thousands of years ago, still here today, screaming out Amen. What's the three-letter root, Shoresh, of Emunah? What does Amen mean? When you say Amen to someone's bracha, you're really saying, I agree, what you just said is true. You are actually confirming a testimony. When someone says Amen, they are testifying, they're acting as a witness, saying, I agree, the Beira Olam created this fruit, or this water, or this drink, or this chocolate. Dark chocolate in my case. What we're going to show you now, this is based on Rabbi Mordechai Schwab, the older brother of Rabbi Shimon Schwab Hatzal. Rabbi Mordechai Schwab was the mashgiach in Beis Shraga in Monsey, an unusual tzaddik. He has a sefer called Maimah Mordechai in Chelik Beis Siman Samach Gimel. He tells us it's a mitzvah to teach our students emunas chushis. Chushis means experiential. You can sense it. You can touch it. How do you do that? Says Rabbi Mordechai Schwab, teach our children about places on planet Earth that are there from thousands of years ago and are still there today, screaming out, Amen. I agree your Torah is true. I'm still here to testify. What you're looking at is a satellite photo of the River Nile. Why is that important? Because over here, Brias HaOlam takes up 31 psukim. Perek Aleph describes Brias HaOlam. Perek Beis is where the story of the Torah really starts. And as early as Perek Beis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, please write the names of the following 4 rivers. Pishon, says Rashi, is the River Nile. The River Nile, here's the delta of the River Nile. It is 4,168 miles long. It wiggles all the way down through 4 countries in South Africa. Here's Mitzrayim. This is the Sinai Desert. Here's where Goshen was. Eretz Yisrael is up here. Pishon is still there. Hidekel, that's the next river. Hidekel is this river here. Hidekel is the Tigris River. How do we know Hidekel is the Tigris River? Well, actually, my mother, Aliyah Shalom, she was born on the Tigris River in a place called Baghdad, right over there. Her house actually backed onto the Tigris River, and in Arabic, I don't know much Arabic, my mother taught me a few words. One of them is Dekel refers to the Tigris River. She was born on Dekel. Hidekel is the name the Torah gives this river. She was born in Baghdad. I always told her she should have been born in Bagmum, but she's born in Baghdad. Across the river from Hidekel is Fras. Who knows which river Fras is? The Euphrates. Fras is the Euphrates. You can almost hear the word Euphrates in Fras. Can you hear it? Fras is the Euphrates. Does anyone know what's special about this area between these 2 rivers? It's known as Mesopotamia. That's where ancient history took place. In fact, Ur is still on the map. I'll show you a picture of it right now. Ur, that's where who was born? Avram Avinu was born in Ur Kasdim. Ur is still on the map. Move forward. This is Mount Ararat. Perek Ches in Bereshis describes where the Teva landed on Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat is still there. It's in southwest Turkey. It's right on the border of Russia and Iran and Turkey. It's actually politically a very dangerous area, so it's difficult to go there, but many expeditions have been there. Josephus, who wrote around about the time of Galus Edom, he's mentioned many times in Rashi, in Shas Bavli. Josephus, he tells us about expeditions in his times to Mount Ararat. Many expeditions have been there to look for the Teva. This is Ur. This is the Gilgamesh stone. That's interesting. You know why? The Gilgamesh stone over here is the marble. The marble is described in Perek Vav, Zayin, and Ches in Bereshis. What's interesting is the people who came out of the Teva, they built up all the next 70 nations. That's described in Perek Yud and Yud Aleph. And from those 70 nations came all the different languages, which we're going to see in a few moments. But what's really interesting about this stone is the following. There are over 200 different cultures outside of the Torah that write in their history about a global Mabul, a Mabul that destroyed the world. And they all agree, out of all 200 plus, they all agree that it came about because of the misbehavior of the generation. That's interesting. How do they come up with that? They all agree there was some sort of boat. It wasn't really a boat. We know it was a teva. A teva is a box in which the survivors, a family, survived. And in every single one of their stories, there are animals somewhere in the story. What's interesting about this stone, it's called the Gilgamesh stone. You can find this in the British Museum. You can go there. You can still catch a British Airways flight tonight. It's about a 6-7 hour flight. You go to the British Museum, ask for the Gilgamesh stone. It's tablet number 11. It's called the Flood Stone. This is an example of a description of the entire world being covered by water. Moving forward, I'll show you this very quickly. This was sent to me by a friend of mine. His name is Rabbi Horowitz. This gentleman here is named Rabbi Horowitz. He's actually the son of my Rosh Yeshiva from Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Baruch Horowitz. He's a chaplain. That means a rabbi for the American Jewish GIs, Jewish soldiers. So he took them on a tour of what's known as Bavel Hayashan. This is actually mentioned in Siman Reish Yud Ches in Shulchan Aruch. Bavel Hayashan in Kaf HaChaim there describes where Migdal Bavel was. There's actually approximately 1 million bricks over here, which the Arabs still in Iraq claim is leftovers of Migdal Bavel. I'm not saying that really is. I don't know for sure. But it's 60 stories high. It's pretty high. Who's been to Hebron? Quick show of hands. Who's been to Maras Machpelah? A few of you, very good. Who's buried in Maras Machpelah? Here's Maras Machpelah. Avram Avinu's buried there. Who else? Yes, Sarah, excellent. Who else? A little louder. Adam and Chava, excellent. Who else? Rivka, excellent. And the head of? Esav. And what were you going to say? Yaakov and Leah. Oh, you've been to Maras Machpelah. Maras Machpelah is still there in Hebron. In fact, the last Parshas Chayei Sarah, who knows how many Yidden went to listen to Kriyas HaTorah? On Shabbos morning, Parshas Chayei Sarah, which talks about the Kfura, the burial of Sarah Imenu, how many Yidden were there, do you know? Because of security reasons, they were much less than the previous years, but there were 18,000. Previous years, there were 24,000 Yidden. Yeah, Maras Machpelah is still there. These are places still on planet Earth screaming out, Amen, I agree your Torah is true. I'm still here too. Cave of Rachel. Who's been to Cave of Rachel? Oh, good, quite a few of you. It doesn't look like this anymore. Today there's a fortress around it, but that's what many of your Amoras will tell you what it used to look like. Over here is a little bit small. I'm going to blow it up. I don't mean as in violence. I'm going to make it bigger. Some of you got that. Okay. This is known as the papyrus of Ipuah. Papyrus is a little bit like what we have today, paper. It's not really paper. It's actually taken from the reeds of the Yam Suf. And written on it is hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics is ancient Egyptian script. We were not able to read this. This was discovered in 1828, and it was taken from the Nile Delta to the Leiden Museum. That's in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. But we couldn't read it because we hadn't yet discovered a special stone called the Rosetta Stone. Excellent. The Rosetta Stone, we could not read hieroglyphics yet, but now we discovered this stone here. This is called the Rosetta Stone. It has 3 languages on it. Hieroglyphics, that's ancient Egyptian. Here in the middle is ancient Greek. We already knew ancient Greek. And what's amazing about this stone is that it's a trilingual translation of each other. That means these 2 languages here are translating the top one. And because we knew ancient Greek, Demotic is another ancient Egyptian language, we were now able for the first time to translate hieroglyphics. Have you heard of hieroglyphics? Yeah? Oh, so now you have. It's a long word. Can you say hieroglyphics? Very good. This is an ancient Egyptian language. What they discovered now, they were able to read the papyrus of Ipuah. They were very shocked when they read it. Oh, sorry, here it is. Do you know why? Let me read you. Emunah was a witness of the destruction of the greatest empire at the time, known as Egypt. He describes the destruction of Mitzrayim in 10 stages. Here's the first one. I'm reading to you in the English translation of the Papyrus of Emunah. Plague is throughout the land. Blood is everywhere. The river is blood. Men shrink from tasting. Human beings thirst after water. Who can guess which Makkah he's referring to? Dumb. Very good. That is our water. That is our happiness. All is in ruin. Trees are destroyed. Gates, columns, walls are consumed by fire. The fire which consumed the land was not spread by human hand, but fell from the skies. Who can guess which one that is? Barad, very good. Forsooth, that's Old English for oive. Forsooth, Lower Egypt weeps. Grain is parched and destroyed on every side. No fruits or herbs are found. Hunger is everywhere. All animals, their hearts weep. Which one's that? Deva, very good, very good. I'll skip to near the end. Land is without light. Choshech. The residence is overturned in a minute. Which Makkah took 1 second? Makkah's Bachairis. He then says, he who buries his brother in the ground is everywhere. Makkah's Bachairis. Interesting. Here's a book by a Professor Emanuel Velikovsky who goes through the papyrus showing you the exact parallel between what's written in the last few parshas that you've been learning from Parshas Shmois, Va'era, and Bai. Yeah, these are places that are still screaming out, Amen, I agree your Torah is true. I'm still here to testify. Here is the route that Bnei Israel took when we left Mitzrayim. This is a satellite photo. When we left Mitzrayim, I'm going to use this picture. I'll use this picture here. Can you see this picture here? Yeah. Okay. This picture here, here's the circumference of planet Earth. Circumference means a line around a circle. So this is a satellite photo of planet Earth. Here's the circumference of planet Earth. Here's Mitzrayim, Egypt. Here's the Sinai desert. Here's Eretz Yisrael. The route we took was last week's parasha. We went Derech HaMidbar Yamsuf. The Torah goes out of its way to give us details. If you're going to lie, what's the best way to lie? Of course, none of you know. But if you were to lie, if you knew someone was trying to lie, what's the best way to lie? To give lots of details? Or to give as few details as possible? As few details as possible. You want to speak in very global, general terms. You know, a long, long time ago, in a far, far away place, and you're not really saying anything. Oh, because the minute you say a place, how you got there, the place is en route, you're giving yourself opening for people to check it out and see if it's true or not. The Torah is not afraid to give details. It tells us exactly the route when we left Mitzrayim. We went Derech HaMidbar Yamsuf. Derech HaMidbar Yamsuf. Here's the Yamsuf on the west side, on the east side of the Sinai desert. Can you see the Sinai desert here? The Sinai desert on the west side, you can see here there are no mountains. On the right side here, the east side, there's mountains. The Torah tells us the first place we went to was Pi HaChiros. Says Rashi. Where's Pi HaChiros? Rashi quotes the Medrash. Don't give me details unless you're sure you can be caught, because there's no lying over here. Oh, Pi HaChiros, Rashi tells us, Shnei Salayim Gavayim Zakufim, they're tall, very high rocks, like cliffs. Pi Guy at the end of a canyon. This here is on the east side of the Yamsuf. There are no canyons on the west side, so we can't have crossed over here. We must have crossed somewhere on the east side. Well, if you look over here, there's a long, long valley leading to this white blob. Can you see that white blob? Some of you have been to Manhattan. Manhattan is just over double the size of this white blob. This white blob is 9.25 square miles. It's very big. It's a large beach. It goes into the Yamsuf. This black here is the Yamsuf. Here's a closer photo. Here is the meandering, that means winding valley that goes to the beach. There's the beach, and there's the Yamsuf across there. Here's a closer photo of what the beach looks like. Can you see the cliffs on the sides? This is the entrance to the beach. Here's the beach itself. over here are remains of a fortress known, it's interesting because the Torah tells us we parked opposite a fortress called Migdal, a very large tower. Here's a very large beach. It could easily hold millions of people. It's a very, very large beach today. It's known as Nuweiba Beach. Here's the entrance. Here's the Yam Suf. If the Yidden were on this beach, we were trapped because there's nowhere to go. You can't go along the coastline here. Actually, to be honest with you, the coastline here was blown out from the mountains to create a patrol road when the Israeli army won a war in 1967 known as the Six-Day War. They actually blew out the mountains at the bottom all along the coast to create a patrol road. So if you were to look at that today, you'll actually see a patrol road. But before then, the mountains went right into the water, which meant if you were on this beach, you were trapped. And it fits the words of the Torah, Parshas Beshalach, Perek Yud Daled, Sagar Aleihem Hamidbar. The Midbar is closed in on them. We are trapped because in front of us is the Yam Suf. Behind us, the Mitzrayim coming through here, and there's nowhere to go except the Yam Suf or to climb up a very high cliffs. How do we know this is really the place that we might have crossed over? So here, there's a Dr. Leonard Mahler. Here, Rabbi Deutsch of the Living Torah Museum. Have you heard of him? Yeah? Rabbi Deutsch of the Living Torah Museum speaks how many languages? He speaks 11 languages. He can read cuneiform, ancient hieroglyphics. He can read Latin and ancient Greek. He's a phenomenal mind, very interesting personality. I really recommend you go to his museum in Brooklyn. I think he's opened up one here in Lakewood. You should check it out. He has a video of this. This is a pillar found on that beach. The pillar has writing on it, which was not able to be read properly because it's been worn down from the weather. However, on the other side of this beach, where we crossed over, there's another pillar. There, he was able to read it. So he read it to me. He said, this is what it appears to be saying. Shlomo HaMelech built this pillar so Yidden would know where to make the bracha. Sha'asa nisim lavoseinu. Thank you, Hashem, for making nisim, miracles for our forefathers, but makom hazeh, in this place. Don't be surprised by that. You know why? Because the Mishnah in Zerayim, that's the first section of Mishnayos, in Brachos, that's the first Masechta, says in Perek Tes Mishnah Aleph, Haroya Makom, if you see a place, Shenasa boy nisim lavaseinu, that nisim were done for our forefathers, you make the bracha, Sha'asa nisim lavaseinu, but makom hazeh. Even the Gemara on Daf Nun Daled of Brachas tells us examples. The first example is Me'abras Hayam, Kriyas Yam Suf. Oh, so that means at the time of the Mishnah 2,000 years ago and the Gemara 1,700 years ago, we still knew where this place was. In fact, Rambam, Perek Yud Halacha Tes, and then Shulchan Aruch in Siman Reish Yud Ches, Sif Aleph, gives the same example of Me'abras Hayam. If you are at the place where we crossed over the Yam Suf, you make this bracha. So they still knew this place even 400 years ago. Moving forward, if you were a detective and you read on the pillar, oh, Shlomo Melech built this so I know where to make the bracha, what would you do next to look for more evidence, more signs for knowing if this is the place where we really crossed over? Where would you look? What would you do? I'll give you a, yes. You what, sorry? Go for the run. What else? Would you get into your scuba diving suits and you go into the water. If you went into the Yam Suf, what would you be looking for? What would you look for? Chariots. What else? What would be the leftovers of chariots? Bones of what type of species? The Mitzrayim. Excellent. What else would you be looking for? What are the different parts of a chariot? Yes. Nice and loud? Wheels. Excellent. Here's an example of one of the wheels that was found. When 6 scuba divers came up, they said, we have found a veritable, that's an English word for genuine, real. We have found a veritable graveyard of chariot wheels, chariots, bones, axles, and spokes. Here's one of the chariot wheels. Here's another one. This particular one here, I'm going to blow it up a bit. This is the one that Rabbi Deutsch of the Living Torah Museum, he's been negotiating with the Ministry of Antiquities in Cairo, that's in Egypt. He's the only one, Rabbi Shimon Deutsch is the only one in the world who owns an artifact, that's a piece of of rock that has on it the full name of one of the most famous pharaohs, known as Ramses II. And the Cairo Museum in Egypt, they're very interested in trading that item for this wheel here. He's still in negotiations because Egypt is a little bit in turmoil. Here's another example. This here, you can't, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Can you see where, you can't see the actual wheel because this is coral. Coral always attaches itself to what it is fixed to. So the coral around here, you see the exact shape of a wheel and the beginning of the axle. Can you see that in the middle? Yeah. Here's another example of what they found. I'll blow it up. So in the middle, that's the computerized artist's rendering showing of what the wheel would look like inside the coral. But what's actually there, you can't see the wheel. If you go down in the water, you'll see the coral in this shape. So what's wondrous about the shape is that it's perfect right angles at the top and bottom. Coral will only grow to the shape of what it attaches to. So when they came up and said, you know, we've got all these wheels shaped in coral shaped in wheels, and we've got axles and spokes, etc. So that's their evidence for showing some sort of army of chariots has drowned down there. Moving forward, I'm going to skip a few pictures. Aaron Cohen, he's buried on Hor HaHar. Hor HaHar is still there. This is the cave of Aaron Cohen. I've actually given this presentation many times. This is Hor HaHar. Aaron Cohen's cave is right at the top. 3 times I've given this presentation. People have said, oh, I was there. There was a Mrs. Gelbfish in the audience. She was not so young, and she said she took the journey. It's a very difficult journey to go on. I've got a whole family live on my block in Monsey. Their name is Schlesinger. The whole family went to the cave of Aaron Cohen. It's the nearest place to there is a place called Petra, Jordan. You have to go by camel and donkey and then by foot. These are places still in the Torah saying, I'm still here to tell you, Amen. I agree your Torah is true. This is the throne room of Nebuchadnezzar. It's still there. These are the streets of Nebuchadnezzar's palace. This is Yechezkel's cave. This is the inside of the Yechezkel's cave. Here's the Arch of Titus. On the inside of the arch is etched in stone the Jewish slaves of Vadim carrying kalim from the Beis HaMikdash. Rav Kahneman was the Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich. And he famously took a trip and stopped in Rome, and he took a taxi, stood underneath the arch. He waved his hand and said, Titus, Titus. Titus was the one who destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. He was the general who they made this arch called the Arch of Triumph to celebrate his destruction of Yerushalayim. So Rav Kahneman, Rosh Yeshiva Panovich said, Titus, Titus, where are you? Long gone forgotten and buried. Where are the Yidden and our Torah you tried to destroy? Oh, we're still here. Isn't that amazing? You're still looking at ancient history. We're at Galus Edom right now. That's 2,000 years ago. And ancient history, non-Jewish history, is screaming out, Amen, I agree your Torah is true. We're still here. And what's left of the Romans? Ladies, how many of you went to Yeshiva or Beis Yaakov with a Roman? An Amorite, a Hittite, a Hivi, a Yevusi? All these ancient peoples, Babylonian, they're all gone. Do you understand? Who's still here? You. Why? Oh, because you're part of Am Olam. You are a nation which Hashem said you will exist forever. It's a bris Olam. What's Olam mean? Forever. I'll end off this. Here's the Arch of Titus. These are mud huts in Haran. Haran is still on the map. Haran is where Avram Avinu went to when he left Ur after the Kivshan Aish. Here in Turkey is a traffic sign. And what does it say? Haran. Yeah, Haran is still there. As you know, international traffic signs for ancient places, old places, is with a brown background. That's why you have it with a brown background. These are places that are still there. At this point, we're going to take a quick trip to Migdal Bavel. Ladies, what happened at Migdal Bavel? Who remembers what happened at Migdal Bavel? How many languages was the world split into? 70 languages. The Torah tells us, Vayhi haaretz safa achas, the entire earth, Vayhi kol haaretz safa achas. The entire earth was one language. Which language was it? Lashon HaKodesh. Rashi tells us that. Vayhi kol haaretz safa achas, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Aleph. The entire earth was one language, Lashon HaKodesh. Now, what does Kodesh mean? Oh, so unfortunately we translate it as holy, but what do Chazal tell us the word means? Excellent, separate. Kodesh means mufresh, muvdal, set aside. Shabbos, Kodesh, doesn't mean a different day a week, it means a completely different day. When you add the word Kodesh, you're really saying, I don't want to use the word holy because it's not what Chazal say, it means it's mufresh, muvdal, completely unique, one of a kind. Am HaKadosh doesn't really mean a holy nation. What it really means is the only nation. Only? There are 70 nations. Today there are hundreds. What do you mean the only nation? No, we're the only nation which HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. He selected us from all the other nations to receive his Torah. Oh, Kodesh means separate. Muvdal, special, unique. Hakel HaKadosh really means the only power. El means power. Hakel HaKadosh means the only power. HaKadosh Baruch Hu really translates correctly as the only one. Blessed be he. That's what Kodesh really means. Lashon HaKodesh means not holy tongues. Not a bad translation, just not accurate. Lashon HaKodesh means the only language. In what way is Lashon HaKodesh completely unique, totally separate from all languages? What's special about Lashon HaKodesh? A little loud, nice and loud. A little louder, sorry? The entire Torah is written by Lashon HaKodesh. Excellent. Is that what you said? Excellent. What else is special about Lashon HaKodesh? Yes. A little louder, sorry? On Lashon HaKodesh, we speak mostly, the language in Israel today that we speak is based on Lashon HaKodesh. That's accurate. What else is special about Lashon HaKodesh? Yes? Nice and loud. It's the first language. Is that what you said? Excellent. What created the universe? We know that Borei Olam created the universe in 6 days, but how did he create the universe? Vayomer Hashem yehi or, vayehi or. When Hashem said, let there be light, and the light existed. Oh, so what created the what created the light? The words. Excellent. Lashon HaKodesh is the language which created the universe. It's the tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu used. That's how it's Kodesh. There's another way, a second way in which it's Kodesh, special. At Migdal Bavel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't create 70 languages. Do you know what he did? At Migdal Bavel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Lashon HaKodesh and split Lashon HaKodesh into 70 languages. That means Lashon HaKodesh is the mother tongue of all the languages we speak today, including English. Let me show you how we know. Hold on tight. What does the word prat mean? What does prat mean? Pratim. Hashgacha pratis. What's prat mean? Prat is a detail. Excellent. What's another word in English for detail? When you break something into lots of small details, there's another word for detail is part. Excellent. So if you read it like this, how would you read it? Part. Very good. What does Paris correctly translate as? Fruit. If you read it like this, how would you read it? Fruit. Oh, very good. What does shoresh mean? Root. What's another word in English for root? Source. Excellent. If you read it like this, how would you read it? Source. Ah. Are you starting to get the picture? What's kafel mean? Double. Very good. When a father and mother are married, they're called a married couple. Oh, interesting. What does shekel mean? Excellent. Shekel is a coin. It's a type of money. Throughout history, how do you measure the value of money? On a scale. Very good. Listen carefully. The oldest sefer we have is Sefer Yetzirah. It's mentioned 13 times, Shas Bavli. Sefer Yetzirah, most agree, Rav Saadia and Cohen, that it was written by none other than Avram Avinu. Sefer Yetzirah, Avram Avinu explains how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the universe with the oisius, with the letters. And he explains in Sefer Yetzirah there are 22 oisias, and there are 5 groups of your mouth which articulate, pronounce the different letters. M, B, P, Mem, Base, Pei require you to close your mouth at your lips and then open them again. The letters dental, Daled, Nun, Taf, Lamed require your teeth to have contact with the back of the top of your tongue. When you listen carefully to the way you pronounce letters, each one of them requires a different movement in your mouth, except for one, the letter Hey. Hey. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu said, Eila told Shemayim b'haaretz behi baram, al tikre behi baram, ela behei baram. Hashem created the universe with the letter Hey. Why the letter Hey? Because the Medrash says, which ice requires no effort? Hey. Hashem created the universe with no effort, the same way it takes to say hey. Listen carefully. The letters in Lashon HaKodesh, some of them are interchangeable. That means they're very similar. For example, in English, T and D are very similar. Da, 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 da. You hear the similar sound. They come from the same part of your mouth. Listen carefully. Kuf and Kaf are almost exactly the same. So Rashi brings that Kuf and Kaf are interchangeable. So when you look at shekel and the word seichel, it's the same concept. Because what is your brain doing every second of your life? Every waking moment of your life, what's your brain constantly doing? Thinking. And what are you doing when you're thinking? Think of a scale. What does a scale do? It measures. What's your brain doing when it's thinking? It's constantly measuring. You are measuring, you're weighing up in your mind the value of what you're seeing or hearing or what you're doing. Your brain is constantly saying, shall I focus on this or something of more value? Your brain is constantly weighing in your mind. That's what your brain is doing every moment of your life. Where do you go to develop your seichel, your scale in your brain? School. Oh. Are you getting the picture? You go to school. When you come out of school, hopefully you come out with what? Excellent. You're going to come out with a skill. What does Sar mean? An officer. Very good. In English, sir. Where does that come from? Sar. And the king of Russia used to be known as the Tsar. Oh, interesting. You start looking at Lashon HaKodesh and you start noticing how many words really originate from Lashon HaKodesh. I have here a dictionary. It's written by a Frum Yid. His name is Isaac Moserson. It's a dictionary that reveals how the Hebrew language is the source of English. He has in here 14,000 examples. I'm not going to go too much on this. I could spend much longer. I've got more to show you. But I'll finish off on a couple of other examples. Miracle. Who does miracles? Hashem. Can anyone else do a miracle? No, only really HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. Me. Who does miracles? Rak. Me, Rak, Kel. As in El. Only miracle is made up of 3 words. Me, Rak, El means power. And when we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu using the word El, we say Kel. Miracle. Oh, interesting. Who knows what does the word bolet mean? When something is boilet, it's protruding, it's sticking out. Is that right? When someone drinks too much or eats too much, they feel their stomach is bloated. Bloat. Oh, interesting. I'm going to close on my last example. I've got many examples here. He wrote a different book called The Origin of Speeches. There was someone by the name of Charles Darwin, who was the father of evil, Lucian, And he wrote a book called The Origin of Species. So he played on that by using this term, origin of species. He shows in this book, he goes through 52 different languages, showing you the shoresh in Lashon HaKodesh is the source of that word in another language. An example is direction. When you listen to the most pronounced parts of the word, you can hear the shoresh in Lashon HaKodesh. Da-ra-ch, direction. Da-ra-ch, derech. Derech is a journey, you're going in a direction. Regular. Ra-ga-la. Oh, regel. Because what does regular mean? When a child learns to walk, they eventually can regulate their pace till they walk regularly. Oh, regular. Here's my last example. At Migdal Bavel, over here, all the languages came from Lashon HaKodesh. But it must be that there's some words that remain the same pronunciation in every language. So interestingly, in Russian, in German, in French, in Spanish, in English, in Hebrew, Italian, I'm going to share with you a word, a phrase you're probably familiar with, but don't realize where it comes from. Some of you might. When you want to do magic, no one can really do real magic, but what do you say? Oh, what does abracadabra mean? I'm going to create something from nothing. Who's the only person who can do that? Oh, me, Raquel. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do miracles. Only he can manipulate water turn to blood. So comes along in Hebrew, abracadabra. What does aleph in front of a verb mean? I what? I did or I will? I will. What does bara mean? I will create. Very good. I will create. Ka-eda-bera. I will create as I will speak. Oh. Sefer Yetzirah tells us, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the universe, he said, Kaviyachol, two things in his mind before he said the first word, Bereshis. He said, Ebara ke'edabera, abracadabra. I'm going to create as I speak. Who invented this? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oh. Are you getting an extra, sorry, didn't mean to wake you up, sorry. Are you getting an extra dose of vitamin E? Okay, I'm going to share with you now, where you come from. Adam Arishon, you told me he died at 930. Actually, because he died so old, he actually knew his son Shes and Enosh and Canaan all the way down to Metushelach and his great, 8 greats later, grandson Lamech. Lamech is the father of Noach. Oh, that's interesting. Listen carefully. I'm sharing with you Ramban with a nun. Ramban Perek Yud Pasuk Hey. Adam Arishon is an aid, a witness, and tells all his children, all the way down to Lamech, the story of Gan Eden. Lamech tells the story of Gan Eden to his son Noach. Noach dies in the year 2006, roundabout over here. Migdal Bavel was in the year 1996. Noach dies in 2006. He knew Avraham Avinu for 58 years. Seder Olam, one of our oldest farms, it's at one time of the Mishnah by Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, gives us all the events and dates of Brias Olam till the Mishnah. He tells us Noach knew Avram for 58 years. He learned by him for 39. Avram Avinu hears the story of Gan Eden and the marble from Noach himself. Look at my fingers. Adam, Lamech, Noach, Avram. Avraham tells the story of Gan Eden and the marble to his son Yitzhak. Yitzhak Avinu lived 60 years. There's a chart by Rabbi Haber. There's a 60-year overlap between Avraham and Yitzhak and a 15-year overlap between all three Avos. All three Avos lived at the same time for 15 years. That means Avram told the story of Gan Eden and the marble to his grandson Yaakov Avinu. Oh, by the way, who was the Rosh Hashiva of Yaakov Avinu? Shem. Shem was the son of Noach. Oh, so Yaakov Avinu gets a chain of transmission, a chain of Mesorah, not only from his father Yitzhak and Avram Avinu, he heard about the marble from Shem, who was inside the Teva. Adam, Lemech, Noach, Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Yaakov goes down to Mitzrayim and teaches everything he knows to all his sons, especially Levi, Kahas, and Amram. Amram, his great-grandson, was alive at the time of Yaakov Avinu. Adam, Lemech, Noach, Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Amram, represented by my thumb here, is the father of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is only separated by 4 doros from Adam Arishon. Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov are only separated by 2 doros from Adam Arishon. You, from this moment onwards, the greatest event in world history, Matan Torah. From here onwards, you have Tariag mitzvahs, which we're practicing for the past 3,327 years. Your father's wearing tefillin, just like his father. Tzitzit, lulav, sukkah, shofar. You're doing the same mitzvahs, Shabbos, kashrus, matzah. You're living the same life and values, mitzvahs, that your father, grandmother, grandfather, grandmother, all the way back to the greatest event in world history. You actually have unbroken Mesorah of your genealogy. That means your father's 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 father, all the way back to Adam Harishon. That's a long way. Over here is the greatest event in world history. Why is Matan Torah the greatest event in Jewish and world history? What's special about it? Here's what makes Yiddishkeit completely different. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he came down from Har Sinai, and we listened, that's this week's Parsha, Parshas Yisro, we heard a Kadosh Baruch Hu speak to us. Was Hashem only speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, or did he speak to the entire nation? He spoke to the entire nation. Listen carefully. There's only 2 ways to start a religion. You can either say, the Rebbeinu Shalom spoke to me last night in front of nobody and said, I am his new Navi or Naviya to give my instructions to mankind. How many witnesses are there? 0. If you want to make a fact in a court, a Beis Din, or a non-Jewish court, what's the only evidence that counts to make a fact real? Witnesses. You want Eidim. So one way to start a religion is saying, the Rebbeinu Shalom spoke to me in front of nobody. Second option, the Rebbeinu Shalom spoke to me in front of thousands of people. Which of those 2 is the stronger claim? The second one. Why? Oh, because you got witnesses. What's special about witnesses? Oh, very good. The minute I say the Rebbeinu Shalom spoke to me in front of Eidim, you will say to me, okay, where are the Eidim? Bring me the Eidim. You see, you cannot make this claim unless it happened, because the moment you say, Hashem spoke to me in front of Eidim, you'll say, great, where are your Eidim? I'll give you 2 very simple mashalim. Some of you were at the greatest event in very recent history, the Siyum Shas in the MetLife Stadium. 90,000 from Yidden celebrating, finishing Shas Bavli. Takes 7 years. 90,000 people. So pretend you were there, and in the middle of the Siyum, a giant hand comes down from Shemaim and points at you and says, you are my new Naviya to give my instructions to mankind. So you go home and you tell your mommy and your father and your friends, you know what, I always knew I was special, but I had no idea. Hashem spoke to me in front of the whole stadium, in front of 90,000 from Yidden. And he said, I'm his new Naviya. Now what will all your friends say to you? Yeah, right. They say you're gone crazy. Then what will you say back? There were 89,999 witnesses. So what will everyone say to you now? What will you say back to them now? If there are 89,999 witnesses who heard Hashem speak to you, how come in the Yated, the Hamodia, all the news stations, have you heard of TV? You know what TV stands for? No. Time wasted. You have to mispronounce it, but all the TV stations had the Siyum Shas How come Hamodia, the Yated, I've got lots of friends who were there, I've got family who were there, how come nobody else is talking about Hashem speaking to you in front of the whole stadium? Listen carefully to the logic. You cannot make a claim as great as this, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to an entire nation, unless it happened. Because the moment you say, Rabbi Hashem spoke to me in front of Adim, everyone will say, good, where are your Adim? I'm not here to teach you any other religions. Christianity, 0 Adim. Islam, you've heard of Islam? No Adim. All of their prophets make private communication with Hashem. Nobody else is there. Oh, here's my closing example. Do you follow the logic here? So listen to this story. Once upon a time, there was a king. And he had 2 sons, twins, princes. The king dies and does not leave behind instructions who should be the next king. So guess what the princes are doing? They're fighting. Finally, one of the princes had a brilliant idea. I'll pretend to be the prince. Rabbi Sai, and he calls together all the members of his father's royal court. You be the members of my father's royal court. I'll be the prince. Rabbi Sai, I have very, very important information to share with you. Last night, in my dream, my father, the king, came to me, and he said, I am the next king. Now, you be the members of my father's royal court. Can you prove to me that I did not experience my father in my dream tell me I'm the next king? You see, you can't say, excuse me, dear prince, I was in the same dream as you, and that's not how it happened. So I have conveniently chosen a claim that's very hard to refute, very hard to argue back. So what's your answer? Your answer has to be, oh, very good. You'll just say, I always had a dream, and that's not how it happened, right? What's another possible answer? What you have to say is like this. Dear Prince, we're very happy for you. You know, in America, you have to empathize. Oh, what a healing experience. That's wonderful. Your father came to you in your dream. We're so happy for you. But, dear Prince, help us to understand something. If your father, the king, wants us to know that you are the next king, whose dream should he be coming in? He should be turning up in everyone else's dream. Why does he only turn up in your dream? Because it never happened. That's the difference between Yiddishkeit and all the other religions. There are no other religions. They're all man-made, fake. Some are made in China. Some are made in India. They're all man-made. None of them dared make the claim that we make, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, an almighty power, Elohim. El means power. Elohim means the power of all powers. None of them dare said, you, Rabbeinu Shalom, came and spoke to us in front of witnesses. We're the only ones. Do you follow the logic? Okay, ladies, I'm going to ask you to sit in your seats for 60 seconds while I quickly dress in a costume, and I'm going to reenact Yetziat Mitzrayim. And you're going to watch how did the Mesorah work from the greatest event in world history, Ad Hayom. Stay where you are. My name is Raphael Nissim. I'm 19 years old. When I was suffering under Shibud Mitzrayim, I was a slave, bricklayer, just like my father and my grandfather before me. And tonight, 40 years later, at the age of 59, 4 days ago, we just entered Eretz Yisrael on the 10th of Nisan. Today was the 14th, and tonight, the 15th of Nisan, I get the mitzvah for the first time ever in Eretz Yisrael to tell my children, Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, the mitzvah of Higadol Vincha Bayom Hahu. Tell your children on that day, referring to Leil Pesach, about what happened when HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hotzeiti Mitzrayim, Hashem took me out of Mitzrayim. So I'm going to tell you now the story of what it was like living in Mitzrayim, Yetziat Mitzrayim, and the Midbar, pretending you are my children on Leil Seder. I was 19 years old, during Shibud Mitzrayim, I'll never forget the first time my father failed to fill the number of bricks that he was supposed to finish every day. They took my youngest brother, Chaim, 2 years old, and cemented him alive in the walls. I'm not going to show you all my pictures. I'll never forget, my father had a broken heart, but a few days later, there was a big commotion, a crowd of lots of noise. I went over to find out what's going on, and they said, didn't you hear? Someone has just arrived from Midian. He says his name is Moshe ben Amram, and Hashem has spoken to him and made him the Moshiach shel Yisrael. And the Zakanim, the 70s Zakanim, the leaders of Klal Yisrael, were asking him, what are the 2 code words, a password? And he told them 2 words. They went to the only person still alive who heard the code word from Serach Bas Asher, who heard it from her uncle, Yosef Tzaddik, and her grandfather, Yaakov Avinu. And she told us, Canaan, yes, Pakod Yivkod. Those are the words. And we had Emunah, Moshe Rabbeinu, you are the one chosen by Hashem. I'll never forget Aaron Akayan, his brother, just touched the water of the River Nile and it turned to blood. Do you know how I know? I was there. I'll never forget Makas Dam. You know why? At Makas Dam, I made a fortune. You see, the only way a Mitzri was able to drink actual water is if he paid us kesef maleh. He had to pay us money, and then it didn't turn to blood. Do you know how I know? I was there. I was there when this giant Sfardeya came marching out the River Nile, marching towards Paro's palace, and every time one of the guards would hit it with their weapons, it would open its mouth, and hundreds of these small little Sfardeim came out, and one Mitzri, I'll never forget, screamed, "Ah!" He should not have done that, because while he was screaming, "Ah!" one of these little Sfardeyas went down his throat, and then you could hear him go, "Ah, ah." These frogs went inside their soup, inside their bread, inside the ovens, inside their beds, and inside their clothes. There was no freedom from them. Do you know how I know? I was there. I will never forget Kinim. Lice. The earth, dust of the ground, turned to lice. And these lice were not ordinary little insects. They were able to crawl inside the pores of the skin of the Mitzrim. This was so midah keneged midah because we went months not able to bathe, not able to wash ourselves because we worked so hard of slaves in Mitzrayim. They deserved this so much. I'll never forget Ariv, wild animals. Wild? Well, not exactly. These wild animals were not out of control. These wild animals only attacked the Mitzrim. I'll never forget, one Mitzri thought he was really clever. He jumped on the back of a Yid and then came down a swooping eagle and ripped him off the Jew's back, and the Mitzri was taken away and the Yid was unscratched. Do you know how I know? And now we're starting to get the picture. Water is a power, yes or no? Katrina, is water power? Yes. Waterfalls? Water can be very dangerous. Water is a power. Lost control, turned to blood. Earth turned to lice. Animals being controlled by another power. There, a plague that only killed the Mitzri animals, and not one Jewish animal was affected by the plague. Then came Barad. These are stones made of ice on the inside and fire on the outside, about the size of your head. They would come firing down from Shemayim, and they would knock an arm or a leg off a Mitzri. They were not very happy. Do you know how I know? And we're starting to get the picture. This kayach, this power, Elohim, you control water, fire, you control arbe, arbe, a lot of arbe. These locusts were not ordinary locusts. Medrash Haggadol, Perek Yud Zayin, tells us they were 4 feet long. They had wingspans 11 feet. They had horns and they had tongues similar to a viper snake that had poison at the end. The Mitzrim were not happy. Then came Choshech. Moshe Rabbeinu told us the first 3 days when the Mitzrim couldn't see anything. Who turned the lights out? I can't see that. We were told go and check everywhere in their homes where they keep their treasures, their gold, their silver, their expensive jewelry, expensive clothing. Don't touch anything. Not a single Jew stole a penny. Moshe Rabbeinu told us, soon we're leaving Mitzrayim and you're going to take out wages, payment for several hundred years of slavery. Did Paro listen? No. Then Paro was given a last warning. If you don't let my people go, I'm going to kill every single firstborn, including your own. Moshe Rabbeinu told us, now take one of the gods of Mitzrayim. The sheep was worshipped as a Avodah Zarah. And Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, take one of their sheep into each of your homes, tie it to the bedposts for 4 days. Yud Nisan to Yud Dalet. Then on Yud Dalet, shech the sheep and roast it, barbecue it on sticks for the Mitzrim to see their God being barbecued. I will never forget my Mitzri neighbor, Ahmad. What is it? The Jews, that smell, it's coming from their backyard. Yeah, let's go check it out. Okay. I don't know, they always have Egyptians walking like that in hieroglyphics. And they came over, they looked over our fence, and they saw us roasting the lamb. And he went, oh my God. Shh. On Yud Dalet Nisan in the afternoon, we shechted the Korban Pesach. We took the blood and smeared it on the inside doorposts of the homes. That night we sat down with our belts around our waist, our sandals on our feet, our staffs in our hands. And we ate matzah with a Korban Pesach. And 1 second before Chatzos Laila, every Bechor in Mitzrayim was alive. 1 second later, they were all dead, including Paro's firstborn. Do you know how I know? Paro came screaming through the streets, go, leave, please. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, sorry, we're not ready. But no, I'm giving you permission. We don't need your permission. What do you mean all these plagues? You asked me permission. No, you misunderstood. Hashem wanted you to refuse so that would give Hashem an excuse to show more power. That he not only controls water, earth, animals, lice, he controls light, darkness, fire, ice, he controls life, he controls death, he controls sound, he controls the boundaries of your country, he controls everything. Oh, the next morning Moshe Rabbeinu was busy searching for Yosef HaTzadik. We were busy collecting gold, silver, and treasures from our neighbors. And then, at midday, we left Mitzrayim. 3 million plus. Do you know how I know? I was there when we arrived at Sukkot, a place where the pillar of cloud waited for us. And at nighttime, it switched to a pillar of fire. We arrived at a place called Piachiros, and all night long, the Mitzrim were right at the entrance. We were frightened. We screamed out, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, don't worry, Hashem is going to take care of you, and he'll finish off the Mitzrim. You'll never see them again. During the night, the pillar of fire switched from in front of us to behind us to separate the Mitzrim from us. All night long, we could hear this wind blowing at the water until late into the night. It split the sea, and we walked through the Yam Suf on dry ground. Do you know how I know? We just touched the walls of the Yam Suf, and a fountain of pure water would come pouring into our mouths, and fruit trees grew as we were walking through on the dry ground, and we just picked the fruit as we walked through. And then when the last foot of the last Yid left the Yam Suf, Moshe Rabbeinu held up his mater and his arms, and the Yam Suf came crushing down on the Mitzrim. How do I know? Because I was there. I was there when Hashem sent the man every morning. I was there when Moshe Rabbeinu was told to hit the rock and the water would come out and we would no longer be thirsty. I was there when Amalek came and attacked us at Rephidim. And I was there at Matan Torah when Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Why didn't Hashem say, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher bara es ha'olam? What's your answer? Excellent. Because there were no witnesses. If Hashem asked me to believe in him because of Brias ha'olam, that would be completely blind Emunah. But Hashem said, no, you know I'm your power. El means power. Elokecha means your power of powers. I am the power that powers water, wind, lice, animals. I'm the power behind fire, behind ice. I'm the power behind light, darkness, and life and death. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Do you know how you know I'm your power? Asher hotziticha. Because you experienced my power control all other powers. When I took you out of Mitzrayim, Beis Avadim, I was there at the Chet HaEgel. I was there at the building of the Mishkan. I was there at the rebellion of Kairach, and the ground opened up and swallowed him alive. And I was there when the Meraglim came back from Eretz Yisrael and said Lashon Hara against the gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. And we ended up 40 years in the Midbar. But tonight, I'm telling the story to my children and grandchildren. Here's my question to you. When I die, what do you think my children and grandchildren who were at my Leil Seder for many years, what will they be telling their children every Leil Seder? The same story. And what will they be saying? I am a witness that my father, who was in Mitzrayim, told me the story of what he experienced. And I'm a witness, and now my children are witnesses that I'm a witness, and their children are witnesses that their father and mother was a witness. And this continues all the way down history until you get to the writing of the Mishnah. At the writing of the Mishnah, Chazal saw Beruach HaKodesh that if they didn't put the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim in a sefer, we would lose it while we're going through Galus Edom. So they wrote the Haggadah. And now, Leil Seder, your father tells you the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim every Leil Seder. Quick show of hands. How many of you remember last year a grandparent at Leil Seder? Did you have a Zaidi or Bobby there? Almost all of you. How many of you remember having a great-grandparent? Quick show of hands. Wow. Do you realize what that means? In one room, Leil Seder, you have a great-grandfather, grandfather, parents, children, grandchildren. You can have easily 4 generations in one room, Leil Seder. Do you know what a generation is? Al Pi Torah, a generation is 70 or 80 years. If you go with the Goyshe version, it's 25 to 50. Listen carefully. This is so simple. If you pretend for a moment that 50 years is a generation, we actually hold it 70 or 80. But if you go with a conservative number, that means a very simple number. Take 50. I'm 56. My father, Alav Hashalom, he passed away Erev Pesach last year. I dedicate this presentation to him. He loved this presentation. The year before, he was there with my family, great-grandfather. I'm a grandfather. I got my children and my grandchildren. So that's 4 generations in one room. Now pretend for a moment, you can have in one generation, you can have an overlap of 4 generations. That's not unusual. But just pretend for a moment that a generation is only 50 years. How many 50s in 100? 2. How many 50s in 1,000? 20. Excellent. How many 50s in 2,000 years? 40. How many 50s in 3,000 years? 60. How many 50s in 300? How many 50s in 300? 6. Matan Torah. You, yes, you are over here. 3,327 years later. You only need 66 people. Pretend you're 50 and you're 50 and you're 50 and you're 50. Add up 66 people's 50 years. And that's how many generations away you are from Matan Torah. You're not so far away. And that's being very kind. The numbers are actually even less than that if you take an overlap of 4 generations in one Leil Seder. You see, when Yeshayahu Navi says in Mem Gimel, Atem Edai, you are my witnesses. You know why? Because here's the Haggadah, and I've actually brought you a replica that's an exact copy of an 800-year-old Haggadah. My father bought it for me. It's from the British Museum. You can't get it anymore. It's a little bit expensive. This is an exact copy of an 800-year-old Haggadah. It's the Barcelona Haggadah. The oldest Haggadah in the world is 1,100 years. It's in the Cairo Geniza in Cambridge in England. When you read the Haggadah every single year, you start off like this. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. Thank you, Hashem. Why are we blessing you? Because you keep your promises to the Jewish people. Which promise? You were calculating the moment of the end of the galus of Mitzrayim. As it says by Avram Avinu, Bris Bein Absar in Perek Tesvav, Yadoya Teda, you shall surely know it, Ki Yezarecha, your child, Yitzhak, will be Ba'aretz Loilahem Arba Ma'ois Shana. Listen carefully, ladies. Yitzhak is born in the year 2048. Which day of the year, you're the Beis Yaakov students, which day of the year was Yitzhak Avinu born on? Which day? First day of Pesach. Excellent. Tesvav Nisan. Which hour of the day? The middle of the day. Excellent. Add 400 years. A promise. Remember the promise. Promise is your children will be in land not theirs 400 years. Count 400 on top of 2048. Comes to 2,448. What happened on 2,448? Yetziat Mitzrayim. Which hour of the day did we leave? Be'etzem hayom hazeh. Oh, did HaKadosh Baruch Hu keep his promise to the century, to the year, to the month, to the day, to the hour? And now you, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, sing V'hi she'amda. That promise you made to Avram Avinu was not just L'avoseinu v'lanu, it's for us as well. Do you know why? Check it out. Because not only the Mitzrim who stood up to destroy us, Bavel, Pras, Haman, Yavan with assimilation, the Crusades, Inquisition, the Cossacks, Tsarist Russia, Communist Russia, Holocaust. Ve'hakadosh Baruch Hu matzileinu miyadam. Ve'hakadosh Baruch Hu matzileinu miyadam. Ve'hakadosh Baruch Hu matzileinu miyadam. The Mishnah, the Gemara. Oh, you're still here. If your grandparents would be at Leil Seder or great-grandparent at Leil Seder, and I was there with you, and I asked them, do you remember singing Manishtana and Hishamda when you were a child? What would they say, yes or no? Yes. If your great-great-grandmother was alive, and I asked her, do you remember singing Manishtana, Hishamda when you were a child? What would she say? Yes. If your great-great-grandfather or great-great-great-grandmother was still alive, and I asked them, do you remember as a child saying, what would they say? Your great-great-grandfather, would they remember still saying Hishamda and Manishtana, yes or no? Do you know why? Because you've got unbroken Mesorah from an event you cannot fake unless it happened. You cannot fake Mamad HaSinai because you had 3 million people there. You know how we know it's at least 3 million? Perek Yud Beis, Parshas Bo, 600,000 men. Rashi tells us between the ages of 20 and 60. Add on their wives, that's 1.2 million adults. Add on at least 2 children each, that's 1.2 million children, that's 2.4. Add on the grandparents above 60, you've got at least 3 million Yidden. Witnesses! Oh, you are witnesses that your mother lights Shabbos candles. She's a witness that her mother keeps the mitzvahs. Is mafresh challah. Your father's a witness. His father wears tefillin, and his father before him wore tefillin. Ladies, how many of you has a father who's a kohen? If I asked your fathers, quite a few of you, if I asked your father standing here, how do you know you're a kohen? What would he say? I know because my father was a kohen. And what did he do different that made him a kohen? He was called up, second, third, or first. He gets the first aliyah in shul. When there's a birkas hamazon, who gets asked first? The kohen. Oh, we have to give special cover to a kohen. And he duchens every single Yom Tov, is that right? Yeah. How far back will I ask the question, and how does your grandfather know he's a kohen? And his great-grandfather? Oh, all the way back to Aaron a kohen. Because you've got unbroken Mesorah. I will close now with the last part of my presentation. I'm going to close with Nevuah. Nevuah is very dangerous. Because the risk in Nevuah is if the Navi makes a mistake, what will everyone say? He's not a real Navi. If Chas v'Shalom is saying, hey, I'm telling you this is what Hashem told me, and it doesn't come true, what will everyone say? Oh, this is very dangerous. You cannot play this game. I call it game because there are rules. Rule number 1, to be a Navi, you have to know the future. You don't actually know the future yourself. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving you information about not what might happen, but what will happen. Unless it's a Nevuah conditional on us doing Aveiros or mitzvahs, then it's conditional Nevuah. It might happen or might not. But a regular Nevuah means, oh, this is what's going to happen. Ladies, watch this. It's very dangerous. When Nevuah happens, it shows Hashem knows the future and controls the future. Who can control the future? Only Hashem. When you and I make a promise, what do we say? 2 words. Bli neder. Why do we say bli neder? Because I don't know for sure. The traffic, the weather, there's all sorts of things I can't control. How many times does a Kadosh Baruch Hu in Tanakh say bli neder? 0. Why? He knows the future, controls the future. You want Nevuah to show control of the future, of nature, of history, of civilizations, empires. I'm going to go through this very quickly. Habet Shemaima, Perek Tesvav Pasuk, okay? Look up at the stars, Avram Avinu, Im Toichal. If you're able, Lisper, to count the Koichavim, the stars, Koyi Ezarecha. That's how many children you will have. Perek Tesvav Pasuk Yud Beis, V'yavai Hashem Shlavoi. The sun went down. Oh, that means when he was being asked to count the stars, he could only see 1 star in the daytime, the sun. So if you can only see 1 star, how many children is he actually being promised? 1. How many children did he have from Sarah Menu? 1 child. But as Rashi tells us in many other places, you will be like the stars, not by number, but by shining. Even when you can't be seen, you will still shine. Watch this. You will be an eternal nation. Like a circle has no beginning, no end. It goes on and on forever. Perek Yud Zayin, Pasuk Zayin. You are part of a bris olam. That's a promise forever that I will be your Elohim and you will be my people. Oh, you are an eternal people. Ladies, figure this out. Has anyone tried to stop us being a nation? Yeah, do I have to walk down to remind ourselves how many people tried to stop us? Who's still here? Very good. How many of you went to yeshiva Beis Yaakov with a Babylonian? Ancient Persian, an ancient Greek, an ancient Roman. They're all gone. Who's still here? Oh, you're still here. I'm going to take you out after 400 years. Did Hashem keep this promise to the minute? Yes. Check it off. Peret Yud Zayin, Parshas Lech Lecha, Pasuk Ches. I'm giving you this land. He's promising Avram Avinu, your children will enter this land. Did we enter it under Yeshua? Yes or no? Check it off. This week's Parsha, Yisroi, Perek Yotes, Pasuk Tes. Hine, behold, ani ba be'av ha'anan. I'm coming to you in a thick cloud. Ba'avur yishma ha'am. I want the nation to hear b'dabri imach. I'm talking directly with you. Moshe Rabbeinu, don't go downstairs and tell the Yidden at Har Sinai that I spoke to you. No, I want v'yishma ha'am. The nation will hear b'dabri imach. I'm speaking directly with you. You know why? V'gam b'cha ya'aminu le'olam. I want them to believe in you forever. There will always be Yidden who believe this Sefer Torah is the same Sefer Torah Hashem gave us through Moshe Rabbeinu. Do you know what you say every Shabbos morning when they lift up and they do Hagbah? What do you say? Zeha Torah, Zoisa Torah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael. That's a pasuk in Vayischanan Perek Dalet, pasuk Mem Dalet. This is the same Torah. How many different Torahs are there? One. Oh, the Sephardi, Ashkenazi, Hasidic, they're all the same. The Taimani has 9 differences, but they're all don't change the meaning of the word or even how you read it. Here's the biggest one of all. Ki sha'al na, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Perek Dalet, Pasuk Lamed Beis, Parshas Vayischanan. I beg you to ask. What does na mean? Na means please ask this question. Ki sha'al na, liyamim rishonim, asher hayu lefanecha. What's the important question? Moshe Rabbeinu says, please, I beg of you. I don't care where you live. 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years, 5,000, 5,776. Please ask this question. Haniyeh kadav hagadol hazeh. Was there ever anything as great as this? What's this? Hashama am kol Elokim. A nation heard the voice of Elokim, the power of all powers. Midaber metoich ha'esh, speaking from the fire. Kasher shamata, like you heard. Moshe Rabbeinu says, please check it out. You live 5776, check it out. Did Hashem ever speak to another nation? Or did anyone else say that God spoke to them? The Rebbe Shalom spoke to them in front of witnesses. Nobody. It will never happen. Check it off. Not one religion says Hashem spoke to us. Check it off. You'll go into exile. Perek Havav, Parshas B'chukusai, Yirmiyahu Perek Hafei. How long will be in the first exile? 70 years. Do you remember Achashverosh by the first Perek of Megillah? All the story of the party. How long was his party? 180 days. Ladies, how many of your mothers can handle 3 days Yom Tov? How many days? Why was Achashverosh so happy? 180-day Yom Tov? What's he so happy about? He was celebrating his miscalculation. He thought the 70 years was finished. And now Hashem has not rebuilt the Beis HaMikdash, so he thought he's finally forgotten us, Has v'Shalom. Oh, he was out by 5 years. We came back 70 years later. Check it off. But you're going to exile a second time. You're going to Galus a second time. Parshas Kisavai, Perek Havches. Galus Edom, check it off. While you're in Galus, the land will wait for you. The land will remain a desert. It'll be desolate. No country will succeed in sustaining an economy on Eretz Yisrael. You know why? It will wait for you to come back. Perek Dalet Pasuk Havav. You will be spread throughout the whole world. As you see, I speak English. I'm born in London. My mother was born in Baghdad. My father's Italian. My father's mother was born in Brisk. My wife is born in Bombay, India. Her father was born in Afghanistan. Her mother was born in Eretz Yisrael. Both her parents were born in Iran. My children are both English and some are American. Now you know why I'm so confused. Can you see these little dots all over the continents of the world? You, yes you have been spread throughout the whole world. Who spread you there? Oh, Rabban Shalom sent us out into Galus Edom, and you know what he said? You will not lose your identity. You will still be the same you. Same Shabbos, same Kashrus, same Matzah, same Pesach, same Yom Tov, same Tefillin. Oh, check it off. You will remain few in number. Perek Dalet, Pasuk Havav, Parshas Vayischanan. 7 billion people in the whole world today. You are 0.23%. You're less than 1/4 of 1% of the whole world population. You will be hated by all the nations. Has that come true? Yeah. Check it off. Why are we hated by all the nations? Haven't we done enough to contribute to them? They're jealous. Why? Because only Hashem spoke to us and gave us His Torah. You will never stop loving and learning my Torah. Perek Lamed Aleph in Dvarim, Perek Nun Tes. in Yeshayahu, the Torah will never leave your lips or your children's lips from now and forever. When did we produce the most Torah? In the worst conditions. The Mishnah was written during governorship of Rome. The Gemara was written in Bavel. Rashi and the Balei Tosfos wrote their commentaries, their Mefarshim, during the Crusades. Rambam writes the Rambam while he was running away from growing Islam. Rabbeinu Yosef Karo wrote the Shulchan Aruch running away from the Inquisition. The Baal Shem Tov started the Hasidic movement in the poverty-stricken Eastern Europe and Russia. And the Yeshiva movement began in the same conditions. Yes, we have loved Hashem's Torah, and we have actually produced more learning in the worst conditions. You know why? Because Hashem promised. Hashem promised the Kosel will never be destroyed. Shira Shirim Rabbah, Perek Gimel Ois Beis. Batzalacha umsaucha kol advarim eile b'acharis hayamim. Perek Daled Parshas Ve'eschana. All these things will find you by the end of days. Where's the end of days? 1,000 years, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5. Oh, you live 5776. You live right over here. You're so close to the last 3 Nevuos. There's only 3 left. You're so close to them. I'll just put this here for a few seconds. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Batzalacha, Umtsaucha, Kol Advarim Ha'ele B'acharis Hayamim. Check them off. You're going to go into Galus, not once but twice, 70 years in between. You'll be hated by all the nations. You'll be few in number. You'll be spread throughout the whole world. But at the end of days, you'll start coming back to Eretz Yisrael and start coming back to me with a complete teshuvah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where you are. If we checked off all the nevuah so far, 18 out of 18 came true. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're on schedule. The only 3 that haven't happened yet. Kibbutz Galias, all the Yidden, that's the real Kibbutz Galias. Kibbutz Galias has not started. Eliyahu Navi has to come. And Mashiach. But the Yidden are coming back to Eretz Yisrael. 6 million Jews live in Eretz Yisrael today out of 13 million in the whole world. That's nearly half the Jews in the world live in Eretz Yisrael. Oh, the only 3 things that haven't happened is Kibbutz Galias, Mashiach building by Shlishi, and Trias HaMeisim. 18 nevuahs out of 18. Is that a good track record or a perfect track record? That's perfect. Do you think the last 3 might happen or definitely will? And here is where I end. Why did all these Yidden live and die for you to be here? What type of Jew did they live for you to be? And the answer is your choice. How will you stand up to the nisyonos of the last generation before Mashiach? You need a lot of Emunah inside of you. And that's what we learned today. It's not history. It's his story. It's his hashgacha. In the schus of your Emunah, we should see the coming Mashiach from here. Amen. Thank you, Mara. Thank you. Thank you.